Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are mastering one of Dark Souls' absolute worst nightmares, the notorious Black Dragon Kalameet. We're going to blend all that deep, fascinating lore surrounding this red-nosed menace with some highly actionable survival strategies sourced right from community veterans and Wikidata. So if you've been struggling to survive his onslaught, or you're desperately trying to claim his rarest weapon, you are in exactly the right place. Let's dive in. Looking at our agenda for today, we've got 1. The Last Ancient Dragon, 2. Grounding the Beast, 3. Surviving Calameet's Assault, and finally, 4. The Ultimate Tail Cut. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, The Last Ancient Dragon. Before we even think about fighting this monster, we have to understand what we're up against. Just listen to this chilling quote from Hawkeye Gough. Even mighty Anor Londo dared not provoke his ire. I mean, wow. Think about what that actually means. Anor Londo was the literal seat of the gods, the exact same beings who eradicated the dragons in the first place. And yet they collectively looked at Calamity and said, nope, we are leaving that one completely alone. He was just too dangerous to mess with. Now there's actually a pretty heavy debate on Reddit about how Calamity can be the quote-unquote last ancient dragon when we know Seath and the stone dragon are still around. Well, the community kind of hit the nail on the head here by distinguishing between them. Everlasting dragons possessed stone scales that granted true immortality, at least until Gwyn's lightning peeled them away. Seath is an everlasting dragon. He was just born without the scales as a mutation. And the stone dragon down in Ash Lake, that's a descendant of the everlasting dragons. But Calamity, the consensus is that he's an ancient dragon. This means he's mortal. He doesn't have those crazy stone scales of immortality, but he is a surviving apex predator from that era. Moving right along to Section 2, Grounding the Beast. Because right now, Calamity has the aerial advantage, and trying to fight a flying dragon with a sword is just a recipe for a really quick trip back to the bonfire. You've got to get him on the ground. To do this, you have to follow a very precise sequence. First, talk to Hawkeye Gough until he explicitly mentions Calamity. Next, venture close enough into the royal wood just to see the dragon fly past. You don't even need to go down the ladder or take any damage. Just trigger the flyby. Once you've seen that, run back to Gough and answer yes to both of his questions. Do all that, and you trigger this amazing cutscene where Gough masterfully shoots Calamity right out of the sky with his great bow, permanently incapacitating his wing. It's a real game changer. But what if you don't use Gough? Well, fighting Calamity without his help isn't necessarily a test of pure skill. Actually, scratch that. It's a massive test of patience. To pull this off, players essentially equip Havel's gear, grab a Dragon Slayer's bow, and slide down the ladder to hide flush against the wall near the Titanite slab chest right behind the waterfall. From this very specific ledge, you aim at the canyon entrance, shoot a single arrow right as he breathes fire, block the residual damage, and then wait 15 to 20 seconds for him to do it again. Rinse and repeat for up to an hour. Yeah. It's incredibly tedious, which just proves that Gough's great bow is an absolute godsend. Which brings us to Section 3, Surviving Calameet's Assault. So he's grounded, but you're now trapped in a canyon with a very angry, extremely dangerous apex predator. Just look at the sheer endurance required here. On a standard new game, Calamity has about 5,400 health. But if you're taking him on in New Game Plus 6, you've got to chew through an astonishing 10,597 hit points. To put that into perspective, it's a monumental slog. This is exactly why the wiki highly recommends kindling the Ulasil Township bonfire 3 times before you go down there. You are absolutely going to need every single drop of that Estus. And his elemental resistances make that massive health pool even worse. Normally in Dark Souls, you see a dragon, you immediately think, okay, time to bust out the lightning, right? Not with Calamity. Despite being a dragon, his lightning resistance is a staggering 762, and his magic and fire resistances, both sitting at 900. If you bring elemental weapons to this fight, they're going to feel like you're hitting him with pool noodles for sure. You need to rely heavily on pure, raw physical damage. But even high physical damage won't save you if you get caught by his most treacherous move. You must watch out for his telekinesis. Calamity will suddenly sit up on his back legs and emit this mysterious ringing field. If that grabs you, a floating orange eye icon appears right over your character's head, mirroring the Calamity Ring. For a short time, you will take double damage from literally everything. If this happens to you, you have to play incredibly safe until that curse wears off. Even a glancing blow from his toe can be fatal. So how do you avoid taking damage in the first place? Well, the wiki establishes a golden rule for this fight. Always, Always be circling him clockwise, which means strafing to your left. Keep him facing slightly off to your side. Why? Because his forward charge and his linear breath attacks have zero telegraphing. None. He just does them instantly. By constantly moving to your left, you organically keep yourself out of the hitbox of these instant, lethal attacks. Make sure to keep your encumbrance under 25% for fast rolling, and honestly, try not to rely too heavily on locking on.
All right, on to Section 4, the ultimate tail putt. This is the part that breaks the spirit of so many players. How exactly do you sever what is widely considered the absolute hardest tail cut in Dark Souls? Pulling this off rewards you with the Obsidian Greatsword, which is this massive weapon boasting a 480 base attack rating that can be buffed to astronomical levels. But as the Reddit community strongly emphasizes, fighting to kill Kalameet and fighting to cut his tail require two completely different mindsets. If you want that tail, you cannot focus on killing him. You have to patiently wait for a very specific sequence.
And that sequence revolves entirely around what the community calls the tail slam bait. You see, Kalameet holds his tail high up in the air for about 99% of the fight. The only safe way to bring it down to ground level is to trick his AI into using a specific tail slam attack, which leaves the tail resting on the dirt for just a second or two. So here's the play-by-play, completely refined through hundreds of painful form attempts. First up, slip on the Ring of Fog. Players actually notice this tricks his AI into using his flying dive attack way more frequently. Hang back at medium range to bait out that dive. As he swoops in, roll left or right, and then, and this is the absolute trickiest part, immediately roll backward directly under his tail. This exact positioning triggers his AI to slam it down, giving you a split-second window to attack the tip. And I can't stress this enough, you must hit the tip. If you hit the thick base of the tail, you just deal normal boss damage and waste the opportunity. To actually capitalize on this tiny window, you need the right setup. Again, you must be under 25% encumbrance because that tail slam leaves zero room for slow rolling. You're also going to need rapid stamina recovery, so throw the Grass Crest shield on your back. But the real secret sauce here is needing a vertical swinging weapon. If you use a weapon with a horizontal sweep, you might swing and completely miss the hitbox as the tail lifts back up. One user specifically noted that a plus 15 Gargoyle's Halberd is phenomenal for this because its light attacks have incredible vertical reach. But hey, if the tail slam bait is just driving you crazy, don't despair. There are two alternative openings. Some players have had decent success running around behind him while he executes that sit-up Calamity Eye telekinesis attack, or when he rears up high on his hind legs to blast fire straight down. If you sprint the absolute second the animation starts, you can sometimes squeeze in a quick vertical hit on his tail while he's distracted.
Ultimately, Kalameet is a true test of endurance, positioning, and raw, unfiltered patience. You now know his mortal lineage, the exact method to ground him, the golden rule to survive his brutal, untelegraphed charges, and the community's masterclass for baiting out that super elusive tail cut. So armed with all this knowledge, are you ready to step down into that canyon, face the last ancient dragon, and claim the Obsidian Greatsword for yourself?